Okay, guys, Christian in politics. How should Christians go about being in the political world?
Dang, you just jumped right in there. I thought you was going to do an intro and opening or something. Just jump right in there. Well, how do you think they should go about being in the political world?
For me, it's difficult to take like a full stance just because when you talk about things like gay marriage or LGBTQ rights, I think that for the most part, we should just leave them alone and preach our gospel. But there's times where it comes to things like abortion where, like, yeah, it's good if the women have the right, but what about the child who has no voice? So that's where I'm torn.
I go back and forth because right now there's the term that's used by political analysts, scientists, partisans is Christian nationalism. That is this combination of faith and political activism. And it's not the first time that we're seeing that in our country, but we are seeing it in new ways, in a new light. And for me, at least, it's terrifying because I feel like Christian nationalism, while I agree with the Christian part, I don't believe that Christian nationalism is in accordance with Scripture.
What's Christian nationalism?
That is this combination of strongly held views and beliefs in faith, so according to the Bible, and basically a prop up or an aggrandizement, this celebration of statehood, of countryhood. So, for instance, term that we always use and we see that we hear, right, in God we trust on our money, or God we trust in our judicial branch, and the tilt to inject God more so into the fabric of our government institutions as a way to solidify our faith in our country or in our government institutions. Obviously, I'm a Christian, so right now it can be difficult as a Christian to say we shouldn't do this, but to the point that I made last week when we were having this conversation, eventually the people who will be in charge won't be so Christian. And even the people who are in charge now, they may be Christian, but not have the same kind of biblical worldview or biblical beliefs that other Christians share. So I think it's a danger when we accept undeniably and we do not put up a fence for Christian nationalism, not only because I think it's a danger to the kind of representative democracy that we have, but it's also a danger to our faith. Because once you give the government your Bible to implement, the government will start to interpret your Bible. And we've seen that time and time again. So we want to elect presidents, not pastors. And I'll leave it there because the conversation can continue forever.
So then my question would be, how do we vote for it then? Like if, say, something that we disagree with that we would consider a sin is up for vote to right, for the rights, would we vote for them to be able to do that, or would we vote against it? It's like, how do you take a stand, or you just stay out of voting in general?
I think that's the difficult part. I think if you're, first of all, as a believer, if your politics does not offend your faith, then you are not living with the biblical worldview. If you can vote without fear, if you can vote with good conscience and in 100% agreement with either political party, then you are not living out a biblical worldview.
Yeah, I don't think most Christians can do that, though.
Exactly.
They can't sit on the Republican side or the Democratic side and be like, I agree with 100%.
Right, but when it comes to voting, there's a clear line of divide, right? There's a clear line of divide with believers, and each line or each side is both saying that they are 100% right, and they're voting in accordance with what their biblical beliefs are. And that is, we should stop saying that. We should stop propagating that. We should stop putting out their propaganda. Listen, if you want to participate in politics, if you want to vote for whoever you want to vote for. Right. Vote on whatever other principles you want to vote for, but do not say this is in accordance with your biblical beliefs, because that is a lie. There is something that you are voting for, no matter which side of the aisle, no matter which person that you're voting for. You are voting for somebody who at one point runs contrary to whatever your biblical beliefs are.
So, in other words, you almost need a third, like, runner.
Well, then they would have something in there.
Everybody would
somebody's
have something.
always going to have something that goes against a biblical standpoint.
Right. I would like to see, to that point, a third party.
Yeah, like where it's not.
See, I like what you said the other week when you were talking about, like, if we keep pushing our beliefs, the things that we want as Christians in politics, then like it could be, a reaction in the opposite direction of other religions being in, having the upper hand in political offices at whatever season of life and being able to push their stuff.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know, like I'm kind of in the place where it's like if we don't push to a degree our beliefs, say we don't push at all, like why still wouldn't they just push even harder then? Because like, oh, they're not doing anything.
I think that's a good point. And the reason why I feel like our generation feels that way is because precedent in our social, in the fabric of our political, our body politic doesn't matter anymore. Whereas it used to, right? Things happen because they just happen. This is just the way that we've done it, right? When a president was leaving office, the outgoing president went to the newly inaugurated president's inauguration. That just happened. There's no rule that says that it has to happen. It just happened. Defense spending, for instance, we've never argued about that ever. In 60 years, we've passed defense bills, Republicans and Democrats, bipartisan through Congress. Well, for the first time in 60 years, there's a defense bill that is being held up in Congress. We've got military pay that is on the line. Congress is refusing to raise the military pay because of what they are claiming, some members who are holding up the package, biblical beliefs that has to do with abortion, right? So things are happening today that defies institutional knowledge, that defies institutional wisdom. And we are a society who look at people who are educated or wealthy as being elite. And we have begun disregarding anything and everything that is elite and elitist, which includes educated people, which includes financially well-off people, people who live in inner cities that are growing, that are really gentrified, because we don't think people in the ghetto are elite, but gentrified areas in the city, we think that they are elite. College educated people, we think people who travel a lot, we think are, and we are fighting as a society, it seems like, back against people who we view as elite. So to your point, yes, there's a section of my brain that wants to believe that things that have always happened will continue to happen because it's tradition, because it's nature, because we've learned how to do this. This is the great American experiment, and it's an experiment, right? We are still experimenting. Things will change.
Right.
And so things will continue to happen the way that it is. But what we see today is that it's just not. If we do nothing, if we sit back, then exactly what you say can happen. But I don't believe that the answer to that is to take preemptive strikes using the levers and the powers of the state to do so.
Maybe it's like take a step back on our part, and then if things, whatever gets pushed on us, then maybe you can react.
I like actually the Founding Fathers approach, and you won't hear me say this a lot, but I like the Founding Fathers approach to church and state. That there should be a separation. And really, if you read the Federalist Papers, the whole idea with the separation of church and state is not that the more of the idea between the separation of church and state was that the church should not be influenced by the state. But there was never any understanding that the state shouldn't be influenced by the church. So the state is run by people. It is people. It is human beings who pull the levers. And so the whole idea was that we can have people who are believers or non-believers, or people who believe slightly different than we do, who are still acting on the behalf of the state. Those people can be influenced by their faith, but we should not be having the state influence the church and then vice versa. But it doesn't stop the people.
That's what we're having now, aren't we? I mean, where the state is influencing religion?
Yes. And religion is influencing the state. I think that we can argue both
ways.
and.
Yeah.
Because we've got areas of the country that are more liberal, right, and they want to see the state intervene,
Yeah.
in opposition to the church, the Big C church. And then we have areas of the country where the Big C church seems to be taking over the state. And that's equally wrong. It equally goes against exactly what the founding fathers were looking for when they, thought of this whole representative democracy idea.
So yeah, Lawrence, I think I agree with you on a lot of things, with the difference between obviously keeping church and state separate, and the founding fathers obviously meaning that. But obviously we are being more governed than ever, where back in the day, the founding fathers, you were kind of governing yourself in America, correct?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
A lot of the country was unexplored at the time. People haven't even made it to the West.
Right. It was unexplored. And in a sense, we did not have the kind of legal state that we have today. And that's because the majority of humans that were in the country were considered property. So you didn't need the kind of legal system that we have today. So I get what you're saying, that there wasn't this kind of legal apparatus to govern people. Well, that's because 99% of people were not considered people. They were considered property. So there was no need for the kind of legal state that we have today.
But even if you go into like the 1980s, 1970s, this was the same thing, where we've never been more governed, where government can take away your kids even. This is a newer thing.
Yes. So in that instance, all of this happens after the Civil War, during Reconstruction. In Reconstruction, 1875, that's when the modern day legal state comes up, which, by the way, if we ever have the conversation on institutional racism, we don't start at 1776. We started in 1875. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But yes, the modern legal day state starts in 1875. Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the case, right, then obviously there's going to be a difference between, like, obviously I believe the founding fathers didn't want what they had with kings, where the kings would change their religions. And then everybody would have to go towards that religion, like you said, with that. So I think that was really their point of that they could believe what they wanted to believe.
Right.
Right. But I think there's a difference now in the time of how it affects your children in the long run, with the laws that are being implemented inside of schools, for instance. Right.
Like what laws?
When it comes to, I know there's one that's talking about taking away your kids if they believe that they are, let's say, a woman when
I've
they're a
heard some
boy.
crazy stuff about that.
Right? And taking away
I
your
don't know.
kids would be
There was someone
governing
in-
your family.
This isn't necessarily U.S., but there's a man in Canada who's probably going to go to jail because of a situation like that.
I have to admit that I do not in any shape or form traffic in right-wing media or commentary because it's full of conspiracies.
Is it really?
Yes, it's all conspiracies. I feel like I'm listening to a bunch of flat earthers talk about trash all day. And in fact, QAnon, most of the members of the new QAnon used to be members of the Flat Earth Society. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about...
Well, the right isn't all QAnon.
They are not all QAnon. And there are some folks who identify or who are right-leaning, who have some very legitimate concerns that a lot of Americans would share. Unfortunately, the loudest voices in the room on both sides of the aisle are the extremists who traffic in conspiracy theories.
Very true.
And I think that's unfortunate. So
I think, yeah. Both sides would have that.
I
yes,
wouldn't
for
consider
sure.
myself right.
What about Jordan Peterson?
I'm going to get back to that in a minute. I want to talk about
The kids being taken away.
the kids being taken away.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of times where this has happened. Obviously, there's been correct times where it's like, okay, it was a good thing where children were taken away previously. Obviously, if it's a house that's a mess where the dad's beating the kids, that is a good situation where they're taking away the kids. But it seems like it's getting to the point where it's becoming more political.
Yeah, I have yet to hear of a case where, in the United States at least, where a child is taken away from a household because their parents do or do not agree with their sexual identity or gender identity or anything of that sort.
For sure. Okay, so then let's just bring up like schools in general and what they teach.
Yeah, sure. Schools and what they teach. I saw this video earlier of this teacher basically just blasting the school board at a school board meeting.
For sure.
Saying basically, I'm trying to teach your children how to do algebra. Your kids can't even write their names.
Yeah.
And you think I'm teaching them to be or not to be gay or trans? Let me just say this. I fundamentally believe this. My JROTC teacher used to say this all the time, actually. So this is where it comes from. He was in the military, obviously, because he's teaching JROTC. There were times of war that he would tell us about, and he would say that sometimes during the time of war, they would be in the field and it would be cold. And how they heated themselves and stayed warm is to cuddle up. They all got in a tent, everybody cuddled up. And of course, us as ninth graders, we're like, but y'all gay. And, and he's like, huh? He's like, and he says something that's literally stuck with me since then. He said, if you wasn't gay going in, you ain't gonna be gay coming out.
Yeah.
I don't think that you walk into a school or any place for that matter, and somebody is talking about accepting any member of the LGBTQ community, and you walk out a member of the LGBT plus. That don't happen. Like I said before, I remember when the Supreme Court said that gay marriage was legal, right? I remember the day. I was in undergrad. I went to sleep that night. I woke up the next day, and I was like, doggone it, I ain't gay. They said it's legal. They said I can do it, but I still ain't gay. And I remember
Wait, are
when
you sure about that?
it became. I remember when it became legal, or when it became more accepting to have transition surgery. I still don't want to have transition surgery. I don't care how much they make it acceptable or affordable. I don't want to have transition surgery. So to that point, I don't think any child is going to school anywhere in the United States of America and being convinced to be somebody that they are already not.
I can agree with that, but with the transition surgery specifically, because you mentioned it, there are a lot of kids, quite a bit, coming out saying, I really regret this, and this was really not pushed on me, but it was brought up in a very positive light at like 15 or 16.
Because what else do you do? I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. All I'm saying is, if I've got a 15-year-old kid telling me that, let's say cis male, and they're like, well, I want to have this transition surgery, right? And I'm not your parent, so I don't get to make that decision anyway. What do I say? Oh, you're stupid. You're an idiot. You need to see counseling. No, I'm going to say, okay, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm moving on with my life. I don't understand how
I don't think they're old enough at that age to decide.
Yeah, but if you're
my
40,
point is,
if you're,
that's not your decision to make.
I'm not saying it's my decision. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you're 14 and you go to like whatever therapy, counseling, whatever whatever the case is, and then during therapy, you're like, oh, yeah, you're a dude. And you're like, or we'll say girl, because it's more common to get your breast chopped off if you're a girl than a guy to get castrated.
Right.
But if you're like a 14 or 15-year-old girl who all of a sudden is like, oh, I kind of feel like I'm a guy. And then all of a sudden, whoever you're talking to is like, because you probably were meant to be a guy. Or really positive, just like, oh, yeah? Well, why do you feel that way? And it just gets to the point where it's like, oh, for sure, yeah, that's very valid.
That's what therapy is for. That is what therapy is. How many people go? Have you ever been to therapy?
You don't validate everybody's feeling in therapy.
Really?
I'm talking about to the degree where it's like that is the absolute truth.
Really, because
if you're like I really want to kill myself. I'm feeling suicidal,
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, you should feel suicidal.
First of all, we don't know what's happening in these therapy situations because we can't know without a court order. That's first.
Yeah, but if you're 14 and you're a girl, and then you're like, yeah, I feel like a guy, and you're like, oh, the therapist, yeah, you probably should be a guy. That's valid to feel like a guy.
I think they're coming out now that they're older.
You wore Vans and Levi's since you were a kid, so that's for sure the case.
Point is, so what? You took your child to that therapist. That's the therapist that you chose for your child. And if your child walks out of that therapist and say, you know what, my therapist said it's okay for me to be a gender or sexual orientation that I was not originally born with, or whatever the case may be, it is now the parent's choice on whether or not you get to take medicine, whether or not you get to
Okay, sure,
have
sure,
procedures.
but they're not sharing the realities of what can happen if you do these things.
Is that the therapist's job?
No, but it's the surgeon's job.
So
So why aren't the surgeons?
No, I agree with Lawrence on that point. You know,
I-
I think it is their parents' job.
This
to
is the
them,
parents'
it's like,
problem.
hey, if you don't like the therapist, the parents don't like the therapist because they're, you know, let's say they're just saying things that they don't believe in, you know, and they're telling their kid things that, you know, either could be construct or destructive to them, right? Then you can get your kid out of there.
Right.
Get your kid out
Period.
of there, right? But when it comes to public schools, some parents don't have that decision to get them out of those schools.
So then, I guess follow-up question then. Should it be legal for 15-year-old girls to get their boobs chopped off for no reason besides they believe they're a guy?
yes, if the 15-year-old decides that they want to do that and they have parental consent, how can we stop doctors from performing plastic surgery on teenagers who have the parental consent?
I agree with that. Yeah, if it has the parents' consent to it.
Because you can't do it without the parents' consent. A person under the age of 18 cannot sign a contract. So a 15-year-old can't walk into the hospital and say, I want my breast removed.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
if it's the responsibility of the parents, then yes.
Now, would
Yeah,
I like for
because
that to happen?
the-
No. But
Yeah.
it's not my choice. It's the parent's choice. This is a free market. This is capitalism. I thought this was America.
I think there should be more guardrails on that.
I think there
At
should be
least
an
more
age
guardrails,
gap.
minimum.
But at the yeah,
Okay, maybe you can't say no, but there's got to be some more guardrails.
I think there should
Yeah,
just be
well, at the same time,
Okay.
parents do have the ability to do research on, hey,
Right.
maybe my child is going to regret this later.
Yeah, but a lot of
And
times the
that's-
parents are in the same boat as a 15, 14-year-old girl. They have no idea.
Then unfortunately, that's not our decision to make. We can't make a decision as a society to use the powers of the state and the legal system in order to force parents to learn. Most Americans can pass a citizenship test that we make immigrants take. Do we make all Americans go back to social studies class? No. We say hopefully you use Google to figure it out. We can't crack down and target, because that's exactly what this is. This is laws that are generally applicable but discriminatory in its effect. And we just call that discrimination. We can't discriminate and say, okay, in this instance we want the state to intervene, but in every other instance we don't. I'm sorry, I want to hear you. I got another point.
Yeah, I mean, we do that with alcohol and cigarettes. Why can't we do it with people's bodies and say, like, even if the parents say it's okay to do, we put an age gap at like 18,
I'm sorry.
and then they're old enough.
We prevent who?
If a girl wants to change to a guy,
With the cigarettes and alcohol. Let's go back to that analogy that you were
okay,
using.
we can't smoke or drink until we're
Who
21.
says that you can't smoke or drink until you're 21?
The state.
The
Even-
state
you
does.
can't,
I mean,
if a parent
laws
buys it for a
do.
child, they can get fined.
So
'Cause
the
they're technically
parents,
bu-
legally speaking, then the
Both
parents are prevented from providing a minor, that's any minor,
right.
with alcohol or drugs.
right? Because
Who
it's
says that you can't take it?
Well, I mean, you
The
just
state.
the
technically
state?
The state says
So,
you can't
Like
take it.
you can't be a parent and buy your child cigarettes when they're 15 and say, "Hey, smoke these. It's okay because I bought them."
Because
you
I
can't
bought
do
them.
that.
Why can't you do that?
because it's
You-
illegal.
You can, but if it's found out,
Still
they
legal.
can get in trouble.
They can get
it's-
in trouble.
It is illegal.
You could-
So we're saying that we want to treat bodies the same way. We want to treat bodies the same way.
with
I'm
an
saying I don't
an
think
age
they're old
restriction,
enough.
I would
How do
say
you do
it's
that?
Is
pretty
what
good.
I'm saying.
How do you do that?
You tell surgeons that you can't do surgeries on these minors.
Yeah.
They have to be a certain age. That's
so
a bit.
what
Or the
if
parents.
those minors have a life-threatening condition?
We're not talking about a life-threatening condition. We're talking
Oh.
about gender dysphoria.
Dysphoria, which in gender dysphoria, in order to change your gender, what do? You take hormones, right? There was a case. I'm glad that we're on this.
Drugs.
I'm glad that we're on this subject. There was a law that was passed that that said something to that effect. Doctors couldn't provide gender transitioning treatment to minors, and basically that's a lot of fluff to say hormones. And of course, it was struck down by the courts because basically what we're telling doctors is that doctors, you cannot prescribe testosterone to women.
Okay.
Is that not insane? You know how many women take testosterone who are not looking to change their gender? You know what the benefits of testosterone is? It's testosterone and a lot of medication that women take on a daily basis. So if we tell doctors that you cannot give testosterone to a female who is a cisgender female, how is that not anti-capitalist? How is that not leaving the medical decisions in the hands of people and their doctor? And then on the reverse, if we tell doctors that you cannot serve estrogen to cis men, then we can't serve estrogen to anybody, right?
That's why I said guardrails. I didn't say like when I say guardrails, we're more saying. Man, I lost my train of thought. Continue.
You're more saying that we should have some restrictions.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, for sure, you can't legally take a bunch of steroids to get huge, but there's steroids and medication, and we take steroids in plenty of instances. But now it's not legal to just start shooting up in your butt steroids to get big muscles.
It is. You just can't compete in many sports. It's academic and sport associations that make it against the rule. It is not the law that makes it. There's no law that says you can't pump steroids into your muscles and get big. There's no law preventing that.
So you're telling me I could just go to the doctor and just get a bunch of capsules of steroids
Yes,
just
If you
by
wanted to, yeah.
Yes, you can.
Dude, I'm going tomorrow.
Matter of fact, you don't even have to go to your doctor. You can just order it online right now. If you want to buy, what is it, the testosterone drug? What is the most famous one? Some acronym. If you wanted to buy it right now.
TRT, testosterone replacement.
Yes, yes. If you wanted to buy that right now online, you can. There's nobody stopping you from doing that, and it's not illegal for you to buy it.
It's probably not healthy for you.
But that's not it's not a steroid though. The TRT.
It's exactly what doctors are prescribing cisgender women who want to transition to be men. So if we tell doctors that you can't sell this to women in the doctor's office, what do you think they're going to do? Just go to good old Google and just
Get some
buy it.
steroids.
All right, well then I guess I would just end I think there should still be guardrails on it.
I think most people would agree. Of course, the issue here is the law, the legal system that we want to have. We essentially have to make a choice on whether or not we want to target individuals who do this. And again, if that's what we choose to do, then that's what we choose to do. But we have to understand that it's discriminatory in its effect. And do we want to perpetuate discrimination? Do we want to bend the law to fit whatever we think it's moral and appropriate in order to serve our own needs? I think that's literally been the quest of the great American experiment. How much latitude do we give people in the name of freedom?
How much stupidity do you want let out there, I guess, is
Well,
what
I
I
mean-
think, too. It's
Because
like,
at the same time, it's like it isn't affecting me.
It's not
when they
not
go
one
and do
bit.
this.
Not one bit. And I think that's also the other argument, right? Obviously, everybody wants to see more research on the effects of all of these drugs on our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's inappropriate to say, okay, we want to see more facts, more research, all of this kind of good stuff. I do think that, we draw the line. If the FDA, who we as a society has tasked with approving drugs, if the FDA says that it's okay to take, then you can't say, okay, this drug is okay to take, but not for you because you were born female or you were born male. That's discrimination. It's flat. There's no other way to look past it. It's flat out discrimination. Now, if we want to do that again, then we have to agree that that's what we want to do. But I have a hard time
I'm not
thinking
saying
most people.
necessarily you can't do that, but I'm just saying under a certain age you shouldn't be able to do that.
And my point is, nobody under a certain age is doing that. Nobody under 21 is doing that without the consent of the parent. And if
I'm
the
saying
parent
even
is,
without the parent, even if the parent has consent to do that, I don't think they should be doing it.
and I think that is where a lot of people, especially who are right
Disagree
leaning,
with me.
No. I think a lot of people who are right leaning actually would agree with you, and I think there could be some left leaning folks who also agree with you. The problem with that is, to make it generally applicable, then we have to say that surgeries and or medical procedures that a doctor gives has to be tailored based on your sex at birth or your gender at birth. And that's where we get into the issue. We get into the problem because now the government is making a medical decision, and who wants Washington making medical decisions?
Nobody.
Absolutely nobody.
Nobody.
Absolutely nobody. So if we want the government to say that, if we want the government to be able to say, okay, doctors, you can do it in this instance, but you can't in that instance, then we open up the door for the government to make other decisions regarding medical issues
true.
that we don't want them to have.
Oh, like
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Lawrence, just to kind of put it to a conclusion of that part, what would you say then the job of the Christian, like being a Christian, should be in that regard?
Yeah.
Because obviously, if what you're saying is true, there's a lot of Christians that are doing quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So, what would you say that we should be doing instead?
Preach the kingdom.
Yeah.
Preach the kingdom. That's all you can do. Preach the kingdom. Now, if that's not what you believe, like you don't believe in the transition surgeries, you don't believe. Listen, I think as a believer in this moment in time, we've got a choice. Either we want to win arguments or we want to win hearts.
Yeah, I mean, that's a marriage, right? It's like you can
Exactly.
either be right all the time
Yes.
or you can be married,
Yes.
right?
Period.
Your choice.
I prefer
but you
right
can't
all
have
the
both.
I was about to say
Most people would. So I am okay with accepting whatever gender you say that you are. In the same way that I'm accepting, if you say, this is my nickname, I'm okay with calling you whatever name you want me to call you. I'm okay with accepting all of that. At the end of the day, anything that is divisive, anything that is intentionally divisive, is already contrary to the word of God. Who through Jesus Christ...
Well, Jesus,
What
there's
do you-
that. There
I don't
is.
know
I
about
can't
that.
quote the exact verse, but it does say that Jesus comes with a sword, not with peace, but to divide mother from daughter. People are gonna disagree.
Yeah, hate your father, hate your mother. What about that?
I think this is a whole nother conversation about American toxic masculinity through the eyes of Christian nationalism. And I don't say that to be funny or exaggerate or poke fun. I mean that in every sense
Well, it's all
of the
three of those
word.
things.
I definitely don't think I don't think
But-
Christianity is meant to be divisive. Would you say
Right,
divisive?
That's
I don't
not
think
meant
it's
to
meant
be
to be.
divisive.
God, no.
No.
It's
But
meant
it's
to be
going to-
convicting.
But it's also going to divide, though. It just
Yeah.
is.
It just
The word of God should parse out what is truth and what is not. It is not our job as believers to even engage in what is intentionally divisive. Here's what I mean by that. When we read the Bible, right? God gave Jesus to reconcile people to himself. If God kills his only son or he sacrifices his only son in order to reconcile people to himself and then says, he turns around and says, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, and then turns around and say, and that you love your neighbor as you love yourself, then how can we then traffic in divisiveness?
Well, we have to then discuss what biblical love actually is, because if you're preaching, biblical love does confront sin.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
that's something we can all agree on.
Yeah, no,
But
it does.
sometimes when you confront that sin,
They gonna
it
be
is-
offended.
Yeah, it is going to be offensive, and it might be a little bit divisive at times too.
It will be offensive. You will be offended. Things of that sort, right? You may choose to stop talking to me because I'm preaching the Bible. But at the end of the day, it's not going to stop me from calling you up and say, I love you anyway. At the end of the day, it's not going to get me out of character. I'm not going to be calling you out of your names. And I'm not going to be trying to pass legislation to discriminate against you. That's
You're saying
divisive.
I love you, but I don't love what you are doing, like the sinful stuff.
I
Is what you're
get
saying.
what people. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because
No,
I get what
oh.
people say when they say that, but I don't like that anymore, especially for this new generation. Because when they hear that, when they hear "I love you, but I don't like what you're doing," what they hear is, "You don't love me."
Yeah.
If you can't accept me for all that I am, then how can you accept me?
Because I don't think God will accept unrighteousness into heaven.
Really? So we've all fallen short of the glory.
Yes, we have, but
We've
through
all
His
sinned.
blood, we are made righteous.
We are made righteous. That means if you are gay, you have access to the kingdom. If you had an abortion, you have access to the kingdom
Yeah.
because God didn't cut it off based on the sin.
But he calls us to be out of sin, like to not have sin.
If you're still living in either of those, is that? Do you think
That's
those
different. That's different. That's a different conversation. If you are still living in that, if you are still trafficking in that, and I want to say that there's no such thing as big and little sin. And I feel like sometimes in these conversations, we try to make gay
Yeah,
abortion
right,
to
yeah.
be the
The
big
high
sin,
ones,
and
yeah.
then
No,
liars
I'm
and
saying
adulterers to be the little sin.
Right.
It's
So,
all on the same level.
I think we all have. Oh, I'm not going to speak for us all, but most of us have sin that's hidden, right? That's tucked away. 1 in 3 men are addicted to porn.
Well, I was born perfect, so
Wow.
We know.
Got him.
Only you. Only
only
you.
me.
And Jesus.
Right, right. But 1 in 3 men are addicted to porn.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a hidden sin.
Is
You
that
don't
wi-
see
is
it.
that, is that within Christianity too, right? Or is
Right,
it just-
right.
yeah.
The actually, according to the statistics, the states that watch the most porn are evangelical Christian states, red states in the South who
Yeah.
watch the most porn.
Well, what are they gonna find out on the farms?
You know, I don't know. That's true.
I guess what's
You can't just walk out
that's
and
a
hide
solid
none.
point.
I guess what's your point in that? Like going back to like your main point.
Oh, my point is that that the message of Jesus Christ is love. So to wrap that up, sin is sin, and I feel like what the church is doing is we are elevating some sin more than other sins, and we are using, and this is where I think I come in at to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. We are using the levers of the state. We're using the legal system. We're using politics. We're using social demographics.
To pinpoint one sin over the other.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's where I think that we get the danger. So for me, it's quite simple and easy. If I believe that being gay is a sin, then the first thing that I need to do is not be gay. The second thing that I need to do is in love explain to people, this is my position, right? This is what I believe. This is what my Bible is saying. But you don't do it out of hatred. You don't do it in order to condemn people. And I feel like that's what we're doing in the social conversation when it comes to these kind of conversations, the LGBTQ plus community. We are doing it in order to condemn people.
Right. And saying it that way makes more sense to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
And I think that we should stop that. That's not the gospel. That's not the kingdom. The kingdom is right. It is truth. And we can preach that without condemnation.
Right.
The word of God will convict you. If what you are saying is true and the Holy Spirit is in that message, the Holy Spirit does the work. It is not our job as believers to clean, I'm using air quotes, anybody up. It is our job to lead people to Jesus, who then cleans people up.
Right.
So if we are trying to get people clean, if we are trying to form people in the image that we think God is pleased with before we lead them to Jesus, we're already doing it wrong.
Right. But like, let's just say Caleb has a masturbation problem. Shouldn't I call him out on it?
Wow.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying he does. I'm
But
not saying
Caleb's
he
already
does.
a believer,
But
though.
let's just say
Yeah.
He's
I'm already a
okay.
believer.
So that's
It's
the
different.
difference.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
That's the
different.
believer
As a
and
believer,
non-believer.
you
Okay,
can hold
gotcha.
in private. You can hold Caleb accountable, but in public, the Bible tells us to cover our brother who may be deep in sin. So our responsibility, even in that case, is not to put Caleb on Front Street, not to put him on blast.
Right.
Our job is in private to say, okay, how can we come alongside you? How can we help you? How can we kick this habit? I've been on this thing for the past week. I feel like in our Christian, this is just for Christians, for believers, in our society, we've gotten so used to counseling, and I love counseling, but I am so tired of counseling some things, especially when we need to cast it out. We are counseling depression. We're counseling anxiety. We're counseling masturbation. We're counseling addiction. Let's stop counseling it and let's cast it out.
Yeah.
And on that front, I think as a believers, when you share that, then when we can say, let's walk alongside you. Let's cast that out. Let's get you in habits. And then in public, we cover them.
Right.
Period.
Gotcha.
Period. I like it.
Yeah, I think that's what we do wrong too. We do a good job alienating other people to make ourselves look better.
Exactly. Especially in the church. especially in the
yeah.
church. People are accepted. I mean, the Big C church, not the small C church. The Big C church. People, I was saying this the other day to the a couple of choir members. People are accepted everywhere else in society, no matter what. You can be this, you can be that, you can be an OnlyFans star, you can be anything you want. You are accepted everywhere else. The only place that seems to be turning people away right now is the church.
As an OnlyFans star, I can attest to this.
Yes. Yes. And we are turning people away. You can't operate in your gifts because of the sin that I know about.
Right.
You can't operate in what God is calling you to do. You can't be a part of us until your visible sin, the sin we know about, the sin that we see is somehow cleaned up. Then it's appropriate for us to hang around you or accept you into our group. And I think that's where we lose people.
I love that.
I'd say the group that we got going on here ain't like that as much.
That's true. I appreciate all you guys.
Well, my question is if when it is someone who isn't necessarily a believer, because we talk about the lady at the well, right? And Jesus did show compassion and he healed her, but he also said, yeah, this guy isn't your husband because you've had 5. Now go and sin no more. Like he just doesn't hold back anything. So is that a way that we should go about it, or is that just like a one-time descriptive story of something that he did?
I just want to say that I appreciate that I'm taking on these questions, but I am not a minister of the gospel. I did not go to theological seminary. I am not a pastor. I should not be your voice of reason or your spiritual leader on this. But if I had to answer, I think that is along the lines of the appropriate. And also when you dig deep into that, Jesus didn't sound as harsh as he does in the King James Version to the lady at the well. But I do think that is more the appropriate way to go about. Number one, the first thing that he did was met her material, her right now need. And that's another part where the Big C church is missing. We're telling everybody to stop sinning. We're telling everybody to do something that we want them to do, but we are not meeting the needs of the community.
For sure. I agree with that, especially when it comes to things like when we were talking about, all right, we don't have to get super into it, but pornography, it's like there's just the spiritual way to get over it, and that's not helping guys because everybody, you ask an atheist, they're going to know that Christians think that's a sin. Right. So we need to think of more practical ways on how to tell people to quit it. Like what are some, maybe we could go about benefits of it or something.
Right. How do you get people to pick up habits that are beneficial to them? And obviously that involves meeting their need. One of the ways that gangs are so successful and any other cult is so successful is because they do what the Big C church doesn't do. And that is first, meet the physical need. What is the material need? What is the right now in your face need? You go anywhere else in the world, they meet that need first. And then they say, would you want to be a part of our organization? If El Chapo can feed his kids, there is no reason why the Big C church all over the world with billions of people who follow Jesus Christ are walking around streets where there are hungry kids, are walking around streets where back to school programs for school supplies don't exist. There's no way in the world that we should have kids growing up in communities that are desolate or that are isolated or that lack resources, especially because we have the big, El Chapo's big drug dealer. He got locked up. He got out of prison and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm just saying, if El Chapo can do it for his people because he understands the need or the requirement to meet the needs of his people in order for them to be loyal, I don't see why it's that difficult to understand Jesus in that passage and what the Big C church should be doing all around the road, and that's meeting the actual need of the community.
Couldn't we make the argument that we may not have enough resources to help everybody, though?
Yes, you can make that argument.
Okay, sweet.
But I think Paul had it right. Like when he formed his church in the Old Testament, it's like he was helping all of the community, kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's what happened in the New Testament too.
Oh,
churches
sorry, New Testament. That was in the New Testament. Not
Yeah,
Old. My
yeah.
bad.
The churches that Paul started. If you
Yeah.
when you read the book of Acts, it was the people in the church who helped out the people in need who were also in the church.
Yeah.
So I think we err on the side of, especially in Christianity, you either have the prosperity gospel or you have the poverty mindset gospel, where we all should be rich or we all should be poor in order to suffer for Jesus Christ.
I'm just trying to pay my bills.
Yeah, yeah. That ain't the poor side. That ain't the kind of gospel. I ain't trying to live the prosperity gospel side, but I doggone sure ain't living the poverty mindset side. I don't
Can we get a
believe that at
medium
all.
here?
Exactly. Let's be in the middle. Let's live on purpose. Our money should have a purpose. If God is increasing you in your wealth, you should have a purpose in life, and you should be living that. You should be using those resources. But that's a different conversation.
That's not the here nor there.
Yeah, yeah. That's neither here nor there. You gotta be able to meet the material needs of the people, and then let's preach Jesus to them. Let's preach the gospel to them, because it's hard for people to hear us and what is and is not a sin and how to follow Jesus when they got real life going on at home.
Mm-hmm.
For real, for real.
For real, for real.
Right. Do you guys want to jump into that fasting stuff?
Oh, yes.
Conversation.
That's a good way to go.
I slightly controversial opinion.
What did I say?
And again, I'm not a. You had asked.
you were saying that you just got under a certain
Was I not
weight,
here
you
for
beat your
this?
plateau, and and then we're talking about making jokes about fasting for like 3 weeks. And then we were obviously saying you could probably die from that. And then I was like, well, you could fast like a day or two. And you're like, actually,
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing that. And you said you're going to be praying and also doing it in a spiritual way with the benefit of losing more weight. And then I said, how would you balance that?
Yeah.
How would you and is that even, some might say that's not the same thing
Yes.
Also, you said you're going to be fasting for 1 to 2 days.
Yeah. One day
out of
a
the week.
Okay.
One day of the week?
Every day, every week.
Every week. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it's new, I would just say be prepared, because I did a 24-hour fast once, which there goes my reward.
Right.
And like your emotions can get kind of out of whack.
Oh, I know.
Okay. I'm just wondering, because I thought I was like, depression was coming back.
Yes, I've done numerous fasts where it was no food. I also did like a no meat fast, and that was they explained it, but words can't put it into can describe it. Like after 3 days without meat, you're going crazy. Your mind has gone bonkers. I'm yelling at people who ain't even cutting me off on the road. They just driving, minding their own business. I was mad at them too. But the point is this: as I was saying, I'm fasting 1 day a week. And during this fast, I really want to pray more. I want to read my Bible more. I want to solidify my prayer life. And you had asked, can you do both? Can you balance both, the weight loss and the solidifying your prayer life? Fasting, this is my controversial opinion. And again, I'm not a pastor or a theologian. Fasting is not for God.
Yeah, that's pretty controversial.
Fasting is for you. Fasting
To purify your flesh, or
I think
Not to
I think
purify
it's
it.
to make you rely more on God.
on God,
Yeah.
to deny your flesh.
Yeah.
right?
It's
right.
for you
Okay, I
to
see.
be
I see what you're saying.
disciplined in making sure that your flesh is under control. Paul explained it best. He said, I train my body like an athlete to do what it needs to do. So fasting is not for God. You don't fast because God don't need you to fast. He don't need you to go hungry. He don't need you to go thirsty in order to be connected to him.
Yeah. I don't think it's that controversial.
Yeah.
You hyped it up. I thought it was going to be like
Because
a big old thing.
I feel like and a lot of times when we talk about fasting, we always talk about the spiritual side of fasting and reconnecting. And then if you're not growing spiritually while you are fasting, then your fasting isn't working. Well, that's not the whole idea of fasting. Hopefully, while you are fasting, hopefully while you are denying your flesh, you are doing it in a way that points you to Jesus.
So you just want to be thinking about food the whole time.
Right, basically. Basically. But fasting is for you
Yeah.
to get your flesh under control.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
I've always thought that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we made fasting in the Big C Church something that it's definitely not. You fast for 3 days and all of a sudden you're more anointed. No,
That's
you're
definitely
not.
true.
No, that does not automatically
Dude,
mean
I
you're
was
more
singing way better after I
think
fasted.
Western Church, the Big C Church,
Right, right.
has just been over spiritualized.
I'm dead. Yeah.
Dead.
Okay, I got a question for you. I'm just curious your opinion because you have opinions. I love them. What are your thoughts about? Because some people like I remember who spoke at Res recently, Mike Signorelli. He had mentioned something about even just listening to music. You're just asking to invite things into your life, all this stuff. So if I listen to one Drake song, does that mean like I better be worried?
We're not gonna put Drake on blast.
I'm just
now.
saying, you know what I mean? Because that's how they be talking about this music. Is like I listen to a Drake song, like I just invited a whole bunch of demons into my life.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to speak against Signorelli. So
No, I love
wanna
Mike
preface-
Signorelli. I want to preface that dude. I think he's
Yeah.
great. I loved his message. He was awesome.
Yeah, I want to preface that by saying that, and by saying that I'm not speaking against any preacher, any pastor, any man or woman of God. I do not put my mouth on God's people. Period.
That's good. That's good.
So there's nothing bad. You
But
can
there's
say.
nothing wrong with talking about things people are saying,
Yes.
discussing what they said.
Absolutely. I do think that right now in our small C churches, we are over spiritualizing everything.
Agreed.
And
For real.
everything. But it's not new. It's not new to the Christian faith. It's not new even to in the
It's
context
just
of
you can
American
post your
democracy.
TikTok video and get 1 million hits real quick.
Right. It's just this explosion of spiritualizing literally everything.
It's so annoying.
And I think it takes away the onus or it takes away the responsibility of us, right? Because then you can blame everything on the devil.
Yeah.
No, the devil ain't responsible. I remember growing up and sometimes in church where we spiritualize everything, somebody would get up doing testimony service. The Lord woke me up this morning. He put me in my house shoes and he told me to clean my house. Huh? If God himself have to tell you to clean you nasty. That's first of all. You nasty. If the Lord have to tell you. So everything is not so super spiritual. But I do think that in this context, he has a point. And one of the things my pastor used to say growing up is to protect your floodgates. That is your senses, what you see, what you hear, what you read, what you write, what you engage in. And that's because what we are inviting in is whatever we're seeing, whatever we're hearing, whatever you're watching, whatever you're reading.
I agree with
We're
that. I
inviting
agree with
in.
that.
And do I think it's more so a demonic possession? No, but I do think it is influence. And if we are not
For sure.
careful as believers, I remember this, and this is a good note. I said this on my podcast today. Actually, I gave my testimony about being addicted to porn. When that addiction was breaking, when God was delivering me from that, one of the things that I didn't do is consume any media content. Because most media content that I was watching had sexual content. They had scenes, folks kissing and rubbing all up on. And I knew that the moment I saw that, I would immediately want to go and watch porn again. So,
Or
in
same thing
order
with
to-
music.
right, music, right?
too.
I want listening to bend it over, shake that, tap that, lick, all that. I want to
See, I don't listen to that anyways. I'm more thinking of because they just say secular music as a whole. Like they just put it out there like secular music. And I'm like, okay, like if you're saying listen to music that's talking about gang banging or killing people or
Right.
like being very sexually explicit, for sure. But I don't know if that's more so inviting demons more than it is just influencing your mind.
It's influencing your mind. I believe that God is love, and I think that the church, we're missing out on a really good market, honestly, in the music industry by being unwilling to talk about love in a positive and fruitful sense. You ain't got to talk about fornication. You ain't
Yeah,
gotta talk
literally.
about lust. But you
Literally.
can talk about love, and you can talk about. First of all, I just want to say, well, two of us are you married?
I am not.
Not. Okay. Only one of us in here are married then. All I want to say is on your marriage bed when you're getting busy with your girl, you ain't gonna be putting on Cody Barnes.
Right.
Says
Oh,
you.
the overwhelming. No, it's not gonna be none of that playing. Right.
weird.
It'd be weird. It'd be weird. So imagine if we had Christian artists. Imagine if we had Bible believers singing songs about love that you can get busy with. You know what I'm saying? Do a little thing too. I think that's more so where we want to go. We want to go in a positive direction, showing love to each other, showing love to our spouses, showing love to God in a way that God represents in the Bible, but not the lust and fornication.
So what you're saying is Justin Bieber's killing it.
I actually don't listen to a lot of Justin Bieber. I do like one of his songs though, but I don't listen to a lot of them.
Same. I don't either.
I don't listen to a ton, but I have my phases. If he drops an album, I hear it.
I hear that it is getting better though. One of the songs that I listen to is definitely better than "Baby, Baby, Baby."
Yes.
That I wanted to kill myself.
You know, he had a Christian EP that he released.
I saw that.
Did you ever listen to it?
No, absolutely not.
I'd recommend it if you.
I feel like if we're gonna crap on Kanye West releasing a gospel
I never
album,
crapped on it.
then let's.
I listened to it. That's what I did.
I listened to it.
I listened to Kanye West gospel album, and it's amazing. I thought it was.
I like to work out to it.
Yeah, it is a good workout.
Yeah,
Good workout, but
it's a good one.
Justin Bieber's just not my speed. He's a good artist though, amazing singer.
You like it because Kanye throws a lot of gospel elements into his music too. I know you like that gospel.
I love gospel. I'm born and raised. I grew up on gospel music, so I love gospel. Anywhere that we can put it, I love it. And I also love the.
So
fact
you're
that-
loving Res Life then, because David's been bringing that gospel music for real.
Yes, I do love the elements of gospel music. I love Res Life. I have nothing bad to say about Res Life, and I know that God is ordering my footsteps in this area. But yeah, I do love the fact that we're including more gospel elements. It's
pretty good.
Music.
Same.
My favorite part about David is he'll be playing the guitar and looking at the piano, and then he'll look at the crowd and smile, and the biggest smile ever before he starts singing.
Yeah,
He will.
I don't know why,
Yes.
but it makes me laugh every time because he's just so in it, you know.
Yeah. He has his tweaks.
Yeah.
His artist things that I like about him.
Dude, I'm pumped. I get to work with David. That's pretty cool.
Amazing keyboard player.
Yeah.
Amazing keyboard player.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I just still can't get over you. You're gonna be getting busy in the bed and then turn on some Cody Carnes.
I'm just saying it's not happening. We've got to be able to talk about love and approach love in a different light. And that's the lustful fornication music is not all that's out there. Again, it's just the loudest voices.
Dude,
in the room.
I know people who will get so butthurt about one song that an artist drops, and I'm like, bro, they're married.
Right.
They're doing that.
Right.
And then they're not like being crazy, like
No.
saying like some craziness.
No.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah,
pretty,
I mean, because you look at the Song of Solomon, like that
Right,
whole book.
right.
Like just
My
that's
first
that's
EP,
public too.
the first song I wrote for my first EP was I Found Someone. I found someone, my only one, and we are one. And I remember this lady from a church that I will not name. She bought the album because I had it on CD, and she bought the album. She came back. She was like, "That's not gospel," and I was like, "Is it deadly? Is it gonna send you to hell? Because that wasn't my intent either."
Right.
I'm like, it's a love album. I'm talking about and I'm expressing love between two loving and consenting adults. Nothing about fornication, nothing about lust. But because it didn't say Jesus to her, it was unacceptable. And I think
it's unacceptable, Lawrence.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
you did that.
that brings up a good point. Like they're being almost too legalistic in that way that you can't listen to that music. In churches, in the past have done that with dancing, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
Or alcohol. Like
Right.
you can't have any alcohol. Zero.
Right. Right. There's still some churches where you can't have alcohol. Alcohol sends you straight to hell.
Facts, dude.
And
Straight facts.
It's forever evolving. Like each new generation, we have these things where it was like it was once bad to do, right? You can't dance, you can't go to the movies, women can't wear pants,
Yeah.
and then their skirts have to be below their knees, right? There's all of these traditions, there's all of these things that every generation contends with, and then of course the new generation comes along, and then there's a new fight.
Right.
So like social sins, right?
Right. Those socialites. Can't hang out with the wrong people. You can't go to dances. You can't go to homecoming, right? You can't go to football games. You can't go to baseball games, right? And we see now that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty open now.
Yeah.
You can't play cards.
Right.
Cards
Oh,
was
especially
one.
cards. Yeah. Cards will see you to hell right after that lightning strike. Yeah. It was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, some of those I would hope that we would keep, like, for instance, clothing, maybe.
Yeah, let's keep our clothing on.
Like,
Yeah, let's keep our clothing on, but
yeah. Because I feel like some women, it's like,
We're gonna go down the modesty road.
yeah, are we going to
Uh-oh.
Well,
Is it-
I mean, the way I've heard it said is you can't lead someone to sin by the way that you dress, but you can lead them to virtue.
oh.
You know,
You're talking about virtue signaling?
no,
Oh, okay.
no, not even close.
Can't lead someone to sin, but you can lead them to virtue.
And you also kind of have to expect, like, what are you selling sometimes with what you want to wear.
Okay, this is a true story because I feel like in the conversation about clothing and modesty, we always talk about women,
right.
but I think it's men. First of all,
yeah.
if a woman is half naked, David, I'm not talking about David, our pastor. I'm talking about David in the Bible. If she half naked taking a bath, she half naked taking a bath. She not doing it to put on the show for you. And if you cannot stay pure with your wandering eyes, then it ain't her fault. So let's start there. 2, true story. Was it Christmas? It was a Christmas program. I went and bought because it was a Christmas program. I needed slacks because we had to wear slacks for the worship, and I didn't have a pair of slacks, so I went out and bought a pair of slacks. Slacks that I thought fit me perfectly in the dressing room. And,
I know where this is going, I think.
and I walk out during rehearsal, Mary, did you know? And after that, after Tiff and I go off stage, what's his name? Josh comes back and say, no, the other Walters.
Okay.
He
You can
comes
cut
back.
the name dropping out later.
He comes back and he says, Jeanette and Mama B didn't know how to tell you this. I said, tell me what? He was like, just use my jacket. And I said, for what? He was like, Lawrence, your package.
Wait, what do you mean? Like your pants didn't rip or anything?
No, they
No,
were not
no.
ripped. They were not ripped. They were just tight.
Yeah, they're the
They were
slacks
tight in
that
the front. They
smile
were
back.
slack. Exactly.
Smile
Exactly.
back.
The slacks that smile back. They were apparently very tight. And he was like, don't worry about it, brother. You're blessed. But here's my jacket. So
I really hope he actually said it like that.
he did. He did. He was like, don't worry about it, brother. You're blessed. And here's my jacket. He's like, use my jacket because this jacket was longer for me.
Oh man, that was a good approach. He approached it good.
He approached it very well, and I really appreciated that. But now that we're talking about the conversation on clothing and modesty, I feel like there's a lot of guys we show off a lot, and nobody thinks of it as showing off. Nobody thinks that it's tempting. But Caleb, you show off a lot.
Well, I actually have been told by a girl leader that I am going to make our sisters in Christ stumble before.
Yeah.
So it does happen. We do get told.
Yeah.
So is that on the person that's wearing that inappropriate clothing, or is it on the person that's viewing it?
Both. So the person who's
Yeah.
viewing
Okay.
it to stay pure.
That's how I would say it.
But as a believer, we share responsibility in not providing opportunity for our brother or sister to stumble.
Right.
So if you could make a change that is reasonable, then of course make the change. I think what we're arguing about in the Big C Church is what is reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not allowed to wear cutoffs, so
Really?
I can't wear cutoffs.
like somebody already told you that, or
I cannot wear cutoff shirts at church.
Oh,
Like
somebody
makes sense.
while you're on the platform, or just at all?
I mean, not that I work there at all.
Yeah, where your stomach is showing, your belly button is showing.
No, like
where like they cut down.
Oh, that's
the
crop-
sides.
see my
that's crop-
shoulders.
That's
Like
crop
the-
top.
The side boob,
Yeah, that would be inappropriate.
side muscle.
But I was wearing them before I was. I never wore them on stage during like even when I was volunteering. You can't lead a set like that.
Right.
But I was wearing them at church. But now I don't. That's okay though. I don't need to wear cutoff. It's not a big deal.
Seems inappropriate.
But I got some sweet cutoffs. So like my fashion's kind of being held back a little
Wear 'em
bit.
to the park.
I wear them to some parks.
So
I
I personally
actually do
don't
wear them to
like-
church, but I'll put a flannel over it.
Oh, look at you.
So you
Yeah,
can
look at
still
that.
remember when you complimented me on my flannel.
Yes, because his dress is amazing. These past, I just noticed like your style, and I don't know why I didn't notice it before, but that's why I stopped. I was like,
What did you say?
styling it up.
You said something about being an artist. You made some type of funny comment.
Yeah, when you are an artist like you are, Eli, when you're a big time artist, you can dress however you want. You can
my
go in the
gosh.
store with the sunglasses on. Nobody will say anything different. You don't look weird at all. Now we can't do that because we just regular people,
Quit playing.
so we can't do
So
that.
so what about booty
Except for
shorts?
Caleb.
With
Caleb can. Caleb can.
So what
Well-
about yoga shorts for women? Do they have a rule against?
What about man
wearing-
leggings? Some jeggings.
Right. I've seen a lot of guys at the gym with these man leggings on.
Yep.
Well,
It's a good thing.
both. I'm saying.
It's like, what are you trying to say to me?
Well, my thing is like someone like me who has fought the lust problem. You know, I'm not generally looking. I don't really care what girls wear to church, but if you're gonna come in dressed like you just got out of the club,
We looking.
I probably am gonna look, but
No,
I'm also
we definitely go look.
well, dude. You have to remember I'm perfect.
Right.
So I'm not. But what I'm saying is, I'm probably not looking at her as wife material. And
Facts.
so the guys that are going to approach her are generally the more creepy ones.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
that is.
100%.
That's a good point.
Go ahead, Jesse. Did you have something to say, Jesse?
No, I was just kind of putting it more in the middle of us.
Oh,
dude.
okay.
We're good. We're good.
No, that is a good point. And it makes sense, and that's okay if you do that, but I don't know.
It's okay if you do that, but like I just don't want to hear you complain when it's like the creepy guys are the ones coming up when it's like,
Bro, for
you kind
real.
of have an idea
That's true.
of
Come on.
And like
what
that
you're
brings
trying
up
to sell.
that brings up a whole nother topic. Remember, like there was a whole ordeal at Access for a little while of like all the guys were creepy, and you know all about it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Okay.
Caleb wasn't creepy. Though.
Oh, this was when we were in discipleship program together.
Yes,
Yeah.
They
Yep.
like hound the dudes on being creepy like constantly, and it's like first of all, I've had it where girls are creepy to me, but we're not gonna get into that. It doesn't. Whatever.
That's not the here nor there.
It's
Right.
neither here nor there. Yep. But we all, for the first thing we have to recognize is that when a girl is creeped out by a guy, and I think most people would agree, she just finds that guy unattractive. He's not actually being super creepy because the same, like a really hot dude could come up and say the exact same things, and she's gonna be all giddy. Like it's just
That's
it's,
so facts.
It's how it happens. And I'm not the only one saying this. So I would say most of the time,
No
they're not-
comment
they're
from
not-
Lawrence.
Most of the time,
I just think like I'm the only boy of 4, so I have seen guys walk up to my sisters on numerous occasions, and I have been creeped out by.
We're talking in the that's very true. We're talking in the context of like just normal church interaction.
And that's also
Yeah.
my point. That's my second point that I'm getting at. I feel like if you're a guy and you're talking to a girl at church or the gym, you're automatically creepy.
What you think if a
I
guy
find
is
you
if a
creepy.
guy is talking at
If
church?
you're trying to hit on a girl at church or the gym,
but what if you're just genuinely trying to get to know them?
creepy.
It's
That's
true.
different.
It's true.
You can
Hugging
gen-
culture at church needs to stop. I'm just gonna say
Yes,
it right now.
yes.
Yeah,
stop
but
that.
here's the other thing with the creepy guys is some of them don't know any better. It's when they're hugging a girl and she doesn't say anything to him.
Dude, I've been creeped out by a girl hugging me.
I have been
By me,
creeped
dude,
out
I'll
too.
give you a really good situation example for my personal life. Bro, one time I'm up front worshiping the Lord. It's a main service, so everyone is in the main, and I'm just raising my hands. And you know they have the prayer people up
Yeah.
front, ministry time. You get prayer, and this girl that I know, who shall not be named, who was recently engaged at the time, she had a hubby, and I was married, so I felt weird with this hug. And she just came up and was like, and what was really weird about it was in the middle of worship, like everyone's hands are raised, and she's like,
oh Jesus.
she's like, Eli, oh my gosh, how have you been? You look great. And then just gives me this like really huge bear hug, like
Oh no.
10 seconds. It was like,
Too long.
you know those hugs are a little too long.
Yeah, that's taking you straight to hell.
It was a little too long. And mind you, this like we don't have more relationship than just like a hi and whatever at church.
Right.
You do now.
I was
Yeah, you
creeped
do
out,
know.
and that's pretty much what I'm
She
gonna end
copped
right
the
there. I
feel.
don't want to take too much time for that story.
She
but
copped the feel.
the whole point
to
is
feel.
the whole point is guys experience it too.
Yes, I have also experienced. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jesse.
Oh no, I think it's also when the girl isn't super attractive too. I mean, I've had girls who were like, "Oh, can I get a hug?" And I'm like, like,
Yeah, if they're being
No,
like
I'm
flirty
good.
and stuff
I'm
and
dead.
doing things.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
but
good.
it-
I'm good. I don't need it. And she's like, "Oh no, come over here." I'm like, "Mm-mm."
But if she's good looking, I'm wide
See,
open
no,
arms.
that's
like,
wrong. That's equally wrong. First
It
of
is
all,
equally
well,
wrong.
it is equally wrong, but it's the reality.
Let's.
Yeah, dude, reality.
I guess so. For me though,
But
don't
that
touch
maybe
me.
that's why hugging should just not be a thing at church.
For me. Just
Well,
don't touch me.
that's a
okay.
long process.
Just don't touch me. And now, if you are older, like I know women in church, they're like almost like mamas,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
they
yeah.
treat me like their son.
Yes.
Of course, they hug me. But if we're the same age and you are not my girlfriend in church or at the gym, don't hug me. Don't put your hands on me. Don't touch me because I don't want you going back talking about some Lawrence touched me, Lawrence sexually assaulted me because you know I
Right.
did not.
That's a good
So-
point. You don't want to get me too.
Exactly. I am not trying to be a part of that movement, so don't touch me. That's first. And number
In any
two,
way.
I have been numerous times, right? I'll be up, like Eli said, leading worship, come down, I'm sweaty, and then somebody decides that they want to pray for me or pray with me, and their hands is going all kinds of places. And I have had
sir.
to, at one point, I stopped, like, I like literally doing, while she was praying, she was praying for me. While she was praying for me, using air quotes, I stopped. I moved away from her and I took her hand and I got it off of me.
Did you really do that?
I did that because it got uncomfortable.
How did she react?
She stopped praying for me. And I was like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about sexual assault. Let's talk about it because we can't do that. Like there has to be a limit. There has to be, you got to do it within reason, and that's unreasonable. If I did that to her, imagine
Oh, for sure.
what the outcome
You're
would have
gone.
been.
You're out of that.
Oh
church.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're no longer welcome here.
exactly. So for me, I couldn't allow that to happen. And it just, for me, it felt creepy. It
I
felt
think
creepy.
side hugging should be the only type of hugging with
Oh, I'm good with the side hug. I side hug
yeah,
everybody.
I'll do a
Yeah,
side
that
hug.
works.
Yeah,
Yep.
for
Side hug.
like any woman.
That's where it's
That's
at.
that's where it's at.
That's where it's at.
Because there's nothing wrong
If
with
we
that.
got a
It's like a
hug.
little shoulder,
Right.
shoulder
Right.
tap. That's
Yeah,
it.
That's it. Yeah. If we got a hug, it's a side
And
hug.
it's very
I'll
short.
full on hug my bros. You know,
right.
no issue there. But it's like like you said, I don't want any problem.
Let's fist bump. Okay, in the name of Jesus. Okay, moving on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah. But yeah, you have to admit there is some like creepy guys that do go to
Some guys are just straight up creepy.
young adults,
Some are
churches,
straight up creepy.
because they do see it as a place to find someone that is a Christian girl that they could date.
oh.
Yeah, but those are always like the.
I won't go say this, but since you said that
Am I
word,
wrong though? Like it is.
Yes. The problem
place for
is
that.
we don't teach men in the church how to date.
We do at
teach
Res.
Men, Big C Church. Big
We
C Church.
we
Kind
teach
of.
we
We
teach
teach
them
them-
what not to do.
We teach
Yes,
men how to
exactly.
You
marry.
didn't go to the recent access dating messages.
Yeah,
then.
but that's
It's a
the
lot
same
just to
thing that's
not
been
to do.
taught for years. Physical boundaries, which is important, and
Yeah,
make
we
sure
got
you
that.
look for the right qualities in a person.
No, he was giving a lot of good practice though.
But you're not actually teaching guys like what do women actually find attractive.
That
Like,
we were
there
talking
has-
about that just the other week at Access.
Or what women want in general.
Well, we
Yeah,
don't know
in a
what
man.
women want, but
But
how
Well,
can
this
you
is
be
true.
yourself? How can you be yourself? How can you love God,
what
love
I'm
other people?
saying.
How can you not be creepy?
See, people are acting like there's a specific recipe for this, but it's like you were just be yourself.
Right,
Stop
right.
trying to figure out the way to date. Just talk to people.
Just talk to people, right?
It's not that complicated.
It definitely comes off more authentic.
So
and
I
less
think
creepy.
it's okay for them to teach stuff like, hey, don't do this, and then just be authentic. Don't make it weird.
Yeah, you don't have to make it weird, but what I'm getting at is say a guy holds a Bible study, he invites a girl that he likes. It's like she's getting all of the emotional benefits and the Bible study benefits without marrying that guy. So she's gonna keep like leeching off that, and she doesn't have to commit to him because she's getting all of this from
First
him.
of all, that's weird. If you're a guy and you're holding a Bible study group, you don't walk up to a random girl and
I'm
say,
not saying
I
some
want
random girl, but it
Somebody that
does,
you know.
but
Girl
it
at
does
church,
happen.
period.
Come to my Bible
But
study.
I'm also not. I'm not specifically talking about just Bible studies. I'm saying
It's giving me axe murderer. It's giving me.
Not if it's a group thing.
okay.
it's just
that
me and
is
you that are in
yeah.
this Bible
No,
study.
dude, I'm not saying
He's not saying
I'm not saying
one-on-one. He's saying
Oh.
group, like group.
I'm not
Oh.
saying no, not one-on-one. I'm sorry.
Hey, girl, you trying to get coffee later? Have a Bible study?
I'm under the impression. That Bible studies are usually groups.
Nah, it's for the
Okay,
Lord. It's for the
okay.
Lord.
I'm
Come
just
on.
making sure.
But what I'm getting at is they're not teaching men. I mean, yeah, you have to be yourself, but at the same time, there's too many guys that were raised with like the Joshua Harris "I kiss dating goodbye" the courting thing, where it's you pretty much stay friends until you're married, and it's most of those guys.
Hell no.
Most of those guys get friend zoned, and by the way,
Immediately.
immediately.
Yep.
Or the girl just keeps stringing them along for years because she's getting all of the benefits without having to commit to him. So there's too
Why
many guys.
would she want that, dude? Why wouldn't she want a hubby? It's crazy.
Why,
She
why
probably
would you
does,
want a
but
hubby?
she probably does, but not with him.
I just want to say I'm a guy, and y'all guys are crazy.
Amen.
Men are insane.
Yes.
So I feel like there's plenty of reasons not to
Insane.
want a husband.
100%. Yeah.
Insane.
But okay, so there's more to it. There's this. I don't know exactly where I found it, but there was this pastor that said,
Uh-oh.
okay, now I'm not gonna name him. He was just online. But he said, you're not single because you have body odor or because you lack social skills. You're single because Jesus' kingdom calls for singleness. This is what I mean. Like, you can be yourself, but I think sometimes if yourself isn't putting on deodorant,
Listen.
maybe it's time to change. But
That's a little different.
I do think that is not the job of the church, but a job of like a father-like mentor to teach a man how to talk to women.
Yes, you should make yourself
right.
attractive. Like, you can be yourself and make yourself attractive. Like normal, wear deodorant,
put
on some cologne,
But there are guys,
exercise.
but
Those
there-
3 things, bro, you're already above like 70% of men, probably more than
It's
that.
probably a bigger. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Cut the
Like,
video games out, a little less video
First
games.
of all,
Get
I'm not-
outside.
No,
Take
no,
a
no,
walk.
I'm not cutting
But-
out GTA. I
but
ain't cutting
that's
out
what-
GTA.
I'm not
that's-
saying stop playing video games. I'm saying take a walk, go
Yeah,
in the
like-
woods on a hike.
But that's what I'm getting at is there's a lot of guys who are kind of stuck in this. Say you're, overweight. Most women might not find you attractive. I'm
I
not
just want
saying
to say I'm hot, okay?
I wasn't.
Burning hot.
Continue.
There's many
I've been hit on by girls
there's many
and
problems,
guys.
but here's where this is what the problem becomes is he gets rejected. His friends tell him, or like whoever's at church, whatever, tell him, "Oh, dude, sorry, but your time's coming. She just didn't like you." It's like, no, you might want to tell him that he should be not massive. Like it would probably help him.
We're talking like insanely obese,
like
right?
600-pound life.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think I agree with your point.
Fix the practical and then worry
Right.
about being like I mean
Right.
be a godly man through it, but when you're just telling guys like, oh, be godly, pray, like that's not all that's going to attract them. Like, you have to-
Absolutely not. Like you have to have those other practical elements in there. Like the research shows that women find men who are physically fit more attractive because being physically fit means that you are disciplined.
Yep.
And you're
It
actually
means
doing
that you
something.
can trust you with something. So if you are not, and I'm talking to myself because I've been on this fitness journey now for a year.
Yep.
If you are not disciplined in your own physical fitness, if you cannot take care of your own body, how you expect to take care of anybody else doing anything else?
Yeah, that's a good
And we use our money as a substitute for our lack of discipline in telling ourselves no. And I think this comes back to fasting and working on denying your flesh. If you cannot deny that extra cheeseburger, if you cannot be disciplined enough to go for a walk, then how can I trust you in anything else?
Very true. But there is Pete Davidson.
Facts.
Okay.
Okay,
He's-
like this is a good point though.
money.
It's not money. It can't be money.
Oh, it's money.
He's got to have at least something.
Okay, but
It ain't
more
what we
than
think it is.
anybody that
You see how tall that guy is,
No,
bro?
it can't
He's
be that.
packing
That's
down there,
not how it
dude.
works.
You don't
That's not
think
how it
some
works.
billionaire wouldn't want Ariana Grande or Kim Kardashian?
First of
He's
all,
not that way. He's a comedian. He's
Also
on
funny.
SNL. Yes. So is there a point that it's about owning who you are and the confidence behind that more than
Yeah,
other
but
qualities?
in today's day and age, when you can own who you are, be funny, and be physically
And
fit,
rich.
Right.
and make money, like average doesn't cut it anymore for
And
women.
popular.
No, it doesn't.
Famous.
Like you have to think,
Likeable.
you have to think
No.
about a woman's instinct. Like she wants the best life for her and her children, so she's gonna go for the guy that is physically strong because it shows discipline. It also shows that he can protect her, and then the money because she doesn't want to live in this apartment, one or two bedroom apartment with her with kids running around.
It's a whole lot of
Like,
people. Listen,
But
okay,
you gotta be real though. Like she wants the best life. She wants a yard for her kids. Probably she's thinking about all of this. It's an instinctual thing.
I agree.
I would agree with you, but I don't think that's the kind of society that we're living in anymore.
Right.
We are changing like the roles. We are changing the relationship dynamics in that more women are more likely to have a college degree. They are now
My
the
cousin
top
wants to be a
earners.
stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. I don't
Yeah,
think that
but-
women are looking for physical protection or
He's married, by the way, my cousin.
But isn't that what the man's role is?
So he already got the woman. So it's-
Yeah, and okay, for me, I want to be head of the household. That's just
and
I
that's cool,
want to
yeah.
be completely polarized. Like me be completely masculine, and her be a very feminine girl. Like,
No,
that's what I'm
no,
looking for.
no. Being the head of the household has nothing to do. I think we pair that as men because this has been a conversation literally since the beginning of time, right?
Yeah.
How much men are being emasculated. And so when we talk about men being the head of the household, we always boil it down to masculinity and feminism.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wrong road to take. So yes, I think that men, right, you could be a provider, you can be all of this kind of good stuff, and that's great. He turning on the light because I'm dark in the dark. He can't see me. And so all he can see is my teeth.
Boy, you got some white teeth now.
Yes, so I think that is true, right? We want to be providers. We want to be protectors and things of that sort. I don't think that women are necessarily looking for that anymore because they don't need us to be their provider or their protector because they're providing for themselves. And in most instances, we have women who are making more money than their male counterparts. So I don't think that's the case. But to your point, in terms of, right, polarizing, right, or having a polarization where the man is the head of the household, the Bible says, women, submit to your husband. We all know that scripture, right?
Yep.
Okay. What is the definition of submission?
It's making her feel like safe and
No.
around.
The definition of submission is willingly and intentionally yielding to the direction of another.
Yeah.
Submission is not control.
That's not what I was getting at either.
Yeah, and I feel like my point is submission has nothing to do with us as the man.
Right.
It's everything to do with her.
Right.
She has to be willing to do that.
But the only way you're going to get her to be willing to do that is to have that discipline and that emotional
Yes.
stability, because if you're not emotionally healthy, she can't trust you. She doesn't feel
Period.
safe around you.
Exactly.
So you have to be worthy of being submitted to.
So yes, and that part we agree. But I think the conversation when it comes to masculinity and femininity is it's more about control. I want to be in control, and I'm afraid of losing control. No. It's not a relationship between a man and a wife. It's not about control. It's about direction and submission, and it has to be intentional. if she is stuck to you and she is following your direction and she has no other choice, that's not submission. That's slavery.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't going with I wasn't going with
You
that
got
route.
some buttons
though.
on there, some.
No, I'm not saying that you were going there.
Yeah, okay.
I
that's-
just want to make it clear to people who may listen to this that as men, I think it's time for us to break out of that somehow being a stay-at-home dad is wrong, or somehow allowing your
That's different, though.
it is different, but it's not wrong. If that's what you and your family want, if that is the agreement between it doesn't make you, well, in my house it probably would, but it doesn't necessarily make you any less of a man, and it doesn't make you any less than the head of the household.
Yeah.
I don't think so. You get to do that as long as
I mean, there's just not a lot of stay-at-home dad fantasies.
no, absolutely not. I have no fantasy.
Hey, I like a strong woman though.
I
I
do.
do.
I like an ambitious woman. I like someone who is strong. I like someone who is smart. I like someone who can hold her own ground. I like. There's three types, I feel like, of dependence. There is the dependence, right? That is likened to a parent and a child relationship. Dependence. There's the codependence. I need you and you need me. We can't survive without each other.
And there's enter.
And then interdependence. That's where you want to be in a relationship.
Yep.
Interdependence.
Yep.
I could do this without you, but I don't want to.
Right.
I am submitting to you. Jesus shows us the perfect example of submission. If at no other time than when he died on the cross. When they said, Jesus, why do you allow them to take your life? No man takes my life. I give my life. That's the perfect example of submission. I could walk away. I could do something different, but I am choosing to not do life without you.
Yeah, so pretty much like having a direction, like for us as men, having a direction and her coming in and being like, "Yep, I'm on board with that."
Absolutely. That's the most powerful relationship, when you are following God and God is giving you a vision, God is giving you a mission, and you can find a partner who can help you in that, who can boost you, or vice versa. There is no stopping you. There is absolutely no stopping you when you have that. Like, as men, we pour in, but women can do something that men can't do, and that is multiply. And so when we say that women are looking
Amen to that. Multiply.
when we're saying that women are looking for protectors and providers, we're men, we're looking for multipliers. Can I give you something, and you give me something for that investment?
Well, I can definitely give.
Yeah, we can all give. We can
And
all.
she
You
definitely
could probably
will
receive too, though.
Whoa. What?
Wow.
Caleb, you've been everything. You've been hot. You've been a model. Now you're gay. I don't know what to think. I'm dead.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next topic? And then we gotta go. Oh, we gotta go right now. We got 5 minutes.
That's fine. I think that's it.
What do you mean 5 minutes?
Yeah, we don't.
You got time
We
limit?
don't. This doesn't have to be the last one.
I gotta get to bed at 9:30.
No, I'm saying like we don't have to. This doesn't have to be
Oh.
that. We could do different topics, different days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can always get invited back.
Okay, that's
Except
great.
for you,
Thank
but-
you. Is there a final one before we take off though?
Yeah. What is your podcast? Where can people find you?
Oh yes, it's called It's Finally Me. Finally is in parentheses. Huh?
It's a good name.
Thank you. It's Finally Me. You can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. New episodes drop every Monday. Really, it's a series, or it's a podcast that's talking about sort of my life journey, and I want to help and come alongside people who are on a life journey as well to be fit, spiritually fit, mentally fit, physically fit, and I'm excited about it. We are going into a 100 Days In series. That's the name of it, 100 Days In. It is also a challenge, 100 Days Challenge, where you pick up a habit, where you create a habit, implement a habit that is beneficial to your future. Cut
Nice.
one out that is not, but it could be physical fitness, it can be spiritual fitness, whatever the case may be. I want to walk alongside people who could use a new outlook on life, could do something different for the future. So it's great. It's great.
Cool.
All right. Sweet.
Do you want to do an intro or not?
No.
Because I don't know.
They'll
Okay.
they'll figure it out. All right, everybody. Bye.